Hello, I'm Mark Michael Lewis of Beautiful Profit Consulting. I'm the creator of the Game of Heroic Meaning in Creating Thriving Partnerships. I've been doing coaching and consulting for 25 plus years. And I find this conversations with money idea that Richard Friesen has put out just absolutely fascinating. And so I wanted to interview him about his new book. So hello, Rich. Nice to
Hi,
see you,
Mark.
sir.
It's nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes, yes. Well, so about this book, I'm curious. I know you have a background in finance, in trading. You've been in business. How is it that you came to write a book about money from this perspective of all the things that you could do?
Well, what's fascinating is first with myself. At one point in my career, I left a large arbitrage and trading firm and went on my own. And what I discovered was that I got stuck at a certain income level. The money was there, my processes were there, my risk management was there, but I was just stuck. Long story short, a voice in the middle of the night said, "Rich, you're only worth $200,000 a year." And I mean, the voice was like just talking to you now. I sat up in bed and looked around, should I reach for a weapon? Wife was sleeping peacefully beside me. And I realized it was a voice in my head. Mm-hmm. And the emotional impact was I realized I was done with that voice. I went to the exchange early. I waited for the doors to open because I was so early, and I took the best spot in the trading pit. And when the bell went off, I had to fight for the spot because the guy who was always there didn't appreciate me being there. But I went berserk. I traded every series, and I went on to make many times my original limit. Then when I started building a trading firm, I'd have traders who would make so much and then stop. Opportunity, skills, risk management, it was all there. And so as I've moved into my coaching practice, the biggest surprise has been people are not able, not willing, can't visualize themselves as successful. That their survival mechanism says, wait a minute, we don't know about being successful. And even though we work through all the trading issues or the career issues or the entrepreneurial issues, there's something still there. And that's why I wrote the book, to address our conversation with money, to address how our attitudes, our mindset, all the anchors that hold us back so that we can free people to not only honor their values, but have a great relationship with money and their success.
Mm-hmm. And so in the book, you go through and actually, you could say, systematically walk the character, because it's a novel, it's written in a novel form, it's not just a nonfiction book. You walk the character through a series of challenges and realizations around how they understand money. Like you were saying, you can have the skills around money, but if you don't give yourself permission to actually earn money, then you won't then you won't make it happen. And when you designed a character who goes through those challenges, what are the kinds of common challenges that people have to resolve in order to change their conversation with money such that they can have the kind of money that they want?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the process. And what I realize is I've had a lot of conversations with my clients, with the groups I run, with my friends, both, on all sides of the political and economic spectrum. And what I realize is that most self-help books don't work. We've got millions of self-help books sitting on shelves, and that's because people will read them quickly, they'll skim them, but they won't get actually involved. They will look at the changes out there theoretically, but they won't integrate them emotionally and physiologically. So the process of the book is to identify with Joe, the main character, and then, like you say, step him through all these processes. So if you can emotionally identify with him, and you can work through. I mean, Joe, this is not an easy job for Joe. He fights this every step of the way. And so you can fight with him. So it's not just like, oh, here's the solution. Here's the process of actually working through something that's difficult.
Yeah. And as I was going through the book and reading it, I was noticing, first, Joe has a particular relationship with money. Like, what does he think money is? And in the process of the book, he changes what he understands money to be. Why is that important in your experience?
Well, first of all, we come to money with a lot of preconceived notions from our family, our belief, money is the root of evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work for it. Money and wealth are suffering. Wealthy people have taken more than their fair share. We have right now a huge cultural divide around politics, money, economics, and wealth, huge divide. And so we've integrated all of these things. And as a result, we end up with this internal struggle like this. So what we do is we look at our relationship with money. And one of the first things we do is we have what's called the 3-chair exercise. And this is where you have a conversation with money. And then money has a conversation with you, or that part of you. And for most people, that just blows their mind what money thinks of them. Now, of course, you and I know this is a projection, but we're able to capture that projection in a voice. And then we look at the 3rd chair, the wisdom part of ourselves, to just pay attention to what was their process? What was their conversation like? And with that, then we can create a whole new context. We can look at ourselves and our relationship with money. We can look at issues like, what is money? Is it evil? Or I introduced the concept that I got from Walter Williams many years ago, that money is a certificate of appreciation, a certificate of appreciation. I've had clients tell me that when they just go, oh, duh, then all of a sudden they're able to ask for their raise. They're able to sell their services better. That one concept alone. So what we're doing is reframing a lot of concepts. There's the belief that there's only so much money to go around, and the people who have it, it isn't quite theirs. A very famous person, I won't mention the name, says there's only so much money to go around and it isn't theirs. Well, right, there's only so much cash money in the banks at any given time. But what if we shifted it from money to delivering value? How much value is there to go around? Oh my gosh, this leads us to the next, 2 different worlds. What if everybody in our world woke up tomorrow and said, how can I deliver value to my family, to my community, my employer, my employees, my clients, my community at large? What if everybody woke up tomorrow and then started asking, how can I deliver more value to you? Is there a limited amount of money? Who cares? What we're really doing is we're delivering more value. And so I'm shifting the thought of money as a limited commodity to how can we deliver more value to each other?
And the more value we contribute, the more appreciation we get for that value. And that translates into the certificates of appreciation in money.
Bingo. Exactly. And once you see that you have certificates of appreciation in the bank, how does that feel? Wow. People really appreciate the value that I'm delivering to them. So, and this is real radical. You won't tell anybody else, will you? Made honestly, with transparency and delivering value, the more money you have in the bank, the more money or the more value you have delivered to the world. Wow. Now, of course, there are people who deliver tremendous amounts of value to the world that has nothing to do with money. You know, the name Martin Luther King pops to my mind. And there's many other people that you will think about who've delivered value without the money. And so that is a very valid path in life. But for those, most of us who are delivering value to others, the more value we deliver, the more certificates of appreciation we get, the more wealth we have in the bank, the more value we have delivered. And that's going to set some people back on their heels to think of it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, when I was going through the book and as I was following the character, right, this first to shift my understanding of money so that money is a certificate of appreciation and that you create value by creating value. You create certificates of appreciation by creating value. Then gaining money doesn't mean that I'm a bad person because I'm not taking it away from other people. The more money I have, the more I'm getting recognized for my added value. I'm being appreciated, and that shifts how I experience it. How much of the work that you're doing with people is having people recognize that earning money doesn't make them a bad person?
Boy, you just put your finger on it. When I'll talk to a client and they'll say, well, I'd like to do this and I'd like to be wealthy and I'll give it away and I'll become a philanthropist. For me, that is a huge red flag. Now, there's some real value to philanthropy. I love philanthropy. But what that indicates is, oh, wealth is bad. Ooh, I'm a bad person. How can I assuage my guilt? I can give my money away. So it's a method of dealing with guilt rather than fully appreciating the value you're delivering, the certificates of appreciation you get, that in and of itself is a valid transaction. Now, when you're wealthy, of course, then you can say, how can I make the world a better place? In addition to already delivering value, are there other ways that I can do it? But if you need that as an excuse to get there, your survival mechanisms will never let you get there. Well, that's maybe an exaggeration, but it'll be a lot more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the dynamics that the book explores and the issues that Joe goes through is his ambivalence towards money. On the one hand, he wants money because you need money in order to do the things that you want to do.
Especially date women, yeah.
Especially date women, yes. Yes. But on the other hand, if money is really capitalist exploitation, if it's really people with power taking it from people who don't have power, then I don't want to have money.
Right.
Because if I have money, that means I'm a bad person. So how does Joe, how do your clients move from owning that money is good and therefore they can be good by earning money?
Yeah, well, this is the point of the exercises. We go through a number of exercises that let them experience this deepest inner voice. A lot of time, these inner voices, these survival mechanisms, these belief systems are just below the surface, draining our energy, and they're not clear. So we have a number of exercises. You know, I mentioned the 3-chair exercise, hidden anchors to wealth exercise, and there's a number of them that help bring these voices up so we can actually hear them. We have one exercise, it's called the Golden Keys, and the Golden Keys says first is awareness. We listen to the voices. We listen to all the voices. Secondly, we accept them, that they have a positive intent for our life. That these voices originally were created to help us. And then we have, after awareness and acceptance, once we accept all these voices, and it's like when I woke up in the middle of the night with this voice, and I accepted the voice that says, okay, this is the voice of Rich's internal limitations. Then I said, from that place of awareness and acceptance, then I can say, okay, now, what would I like? And that then becomes powerful because we're not fighting the old beliefs. We're not fighting our identity. We're not fighting our old systems. What we're saying is we hear them, we accept them. And now, what would I, Rich Friesen, what would I, Mark Michael Lewis, what would we want right now? And that shift is powerful.
As we incorporate more of that wisdom voice
Yeah.
into our conversation. Now, you spoke about some exercises. The book follows the lead character as the lead character does a series of exercises, and you're invited as the reader to go through the exercises yourself. And I believe you have exercises on your website. There's a community of people going through those exercises. Can you tell me a little bit about the values board and the values exercises that Joe goes through?
Sure. One of the biggest issues my clients have, and this has nothing to do with money, and I feel it as I say it, and I think about some clients, I can feel it right now, is the hole in their hearts. There's an emptiness of love and appreciation they maybe didn't get when they were children. There's a lack of self-worth and valuing themselves. And so there's a number of avenues you can use to anesthetize yourself against that pain. Drugs and alcohol is one. And another one is to try to prove to the world that you're okay, that you don't have a hole in your heart. So we have this hole in our heart, and then we use money and wealth and success. And we work hard, we climb the corporate ladder, we go into the financial markets, we invest, whatever it is. And then we look to that outside world to say, we're okay. That once we get the promotion, we're okay. Once we make so much money or get the Lamborghini or the beach house or the trophy spouse or whatever, that will make us okay. But as you well know, Mark, with your own clients, that doesn't fill the hole in the heart. It's still there. There's almost one more thing out there. Oh, if I get this, I'll get respect from my dad. If I get this, my family or community will respect me. So what we do is we move from trying to fill that hole in our heart and get something from out there to saying, what can I deliver that is of value? So one way to look at this is, people don't do this as much anymore, the younger generation, but we used to have these vision boards, and you put up the visions of the things you want on them, and then you meditate and you manifest them. And for some people, that can make a shift because they don't have a clear picture of what they want. But in my vision board, it's how do we deliver value and to who? So on the vision board, we say, what value do I deliver and whom do I deliver it to? And then we look at all the steps that we can take, maybe the skills we need, the knowledge we need, the training we need, the shifts in belief system that we need to be able to deliver that value. So what we've done is we've moved from trying to fill an empty hole in our heart to one where we look at what meaning life has for us, what delivering value is part of that meaning. And all of a sudden, when we deliver those values, oh my God, that fills that sense of who we are and value and meaning in a way that trying to fill a hole in the heart with money just can't do.
Yeah. And as you were saying that, it's this, I'm feeling a shift from like, what can I get from the world that makes me complete?
Right.
To what do I bring to the world that in the bringing of it gives me value? And the more I do that, the more I focus on the value that I'm bringing, the more I bring value, the more certificates of appreciation I can get, and the more I can actually enjoy them. I can accept them rather than limiting myself, because the more value I give, the more value I can receive. Is that right?
Boy, you just articulated it really well. So if there's one thing people can get out of this interview, it's exactly what you said right there.
Mhm. Cool. Okay. So coming back to, you could say how people think about money, right?
Mhm.
You talk about the one pie model
Mhm.
versus the many pies model. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if you could say something about that.
Sure. One pie model is ingrained in most of us. There's only so much money, and some people have it, and it's distributed unfairly. Again, that looks at money as a thing out there. And if we look at money as a certificate of appreciation, then what we're all of a sudden there is not one pie. We can contribute. If everybody woke up tomorrow morning and says, how can I deliver more value to my family, my community, my employer, my employees, my clients? If we all woke up tomorrow and did that, can you imagine how much value there would be in the world?
Mhm.
So this is my invitation. This is my invitation to everyone, is to look and make a shift from how much money I have to how much value I can deliver. And in doing that, accept those certificates of appreciation fully and completely and make it very satisfying, because we know they're a reflection of how you value what I have delivered to you.
You were saying earlier that people have a relationship with money, and the
Mhm.
relationship they have with money essentially determines how much money they'll allow themselves to make. You
That
had your limit. This is how much you're worth. I'm not worth,
Mhm.
if I go too much over that, I'm gonna, kind of slow down. If I go too far under that, I'm probably gonna speed up.
Mhm.
Um, what is the difference between having a relationship with money where you have a belief and money's out there, to getting into an ongoing conversation with money, so that how you relate to money shifts and grows and is dynamic? What is that? What is that dynamic?
Well, if you look at it's an entire context, and that includes our identity, our beliefs about the world and ourselves. That then we have behaviors that are built on that. And then we have skills we develop and knowledge. So if we are in one context and this is, I mean, even successful people and clients who come to me, underlying is a belief of not being worthy, and there's guilt. And sometimes they're like this, and then kaboom, they will self-sabotage in order to match the identity that's deep. So what we do is we look at this entire context. From within the context, it's very difficult to step into another one, because their survival mechanisms say, we can survive this context. But even one that may be better, we don't know that we can survive it. So we sabotage it. So my goal is to get people to start to envision the new context. It's amazing. A client will come to me, he'll say, and this problem, this problem, this problem, that problem. I'll say, okay, you have all this, and I'll repeat it to make sure I understand it. Then I'll say, and what would you like? Well, I have this problem and this problem and this problem. Okay, and what would you like? And what's interesting is a lot of clients are unable to even visualize, even think about another context. And so my job in the coaching, in the courses, in the book, in our online community, is to invite people to step into a new context. And in order to do that, they need to feel safe. It needs to feel better. And they need to know that they're not going to lose community. Now, this is really important. One of my traders early on, smart guy, just really hustled. He would make go like this, make money, and kaboom, give it away. Make money, kaboom, give it away. And so I brought in a hypnotherapist, And what we discovered, he came from West Virginia, from dirt poor poverty, really smart, came to the city. His intelligence worked for him. But at some point, he realized he would lose his family. And his family was cousins, aunts, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, everybody getting together for barbecues and stuff like that. And if he became wealthy, that was so far out of his comfort zone and so far out of his family connections that his survival mechanism said, you're going to lose your family. Now, one of the questions I ask people, so if you became wealthy or were successful, what of value would you lose? Oh, I wouldn't lose anything. Oh, no, that's what I want. I'll ask it again. And sometimes I have to ask it 5, 6, 7 times. Sometimes I have to suggest things. And then they go, oh, yeah, if I made more money than my dad, that would mean that I was violating my respect for him. So you would lose something in your relationship to your dad. Yeah, because he worked so hard. So that's just another example of what we would lose when we step out of our comfort context into another context.
So one of the things I experienced when I was reading the book was recognize the difference between my thoughts about money and talking about money. And there's lots of books that talk about money and what you can do with money. But this book actually got me to talk to money and for money to respond. And in the book, the character of money actually talks. And the thing that I recognized in that is that I have an idea of what money would say if money speaks.
Yes.
That I, inside myself, money is a character. And I can learn by having a conversation with it. Now, similarly, in the 3-chair exercise, you have people and the character talks with wisdom. And there's a wisdom that's separate from who I am. I have my ideas, but then there's my idea of what wisdom would say. And also to deal with it, not as wisdom as a thing, but wisdom as a character who can contribute to my understanding. And this 3-way conversation, I'm curious, when you're working with your clients in your online community around the book and your conversations on money, how do people differentiate and make sense between, you could say, their beliefs about money and money's beliefs about money, or their wise self's belief about money? How does that process work?
Well, this is what's really interesting, as most people listening to this might think this is slightly crazy. But with my voice and with my understanding of the positive intent of each of these voices, my awareness and my acceptance of all the parts of those, these are voices that just long to come out. These are voices that have been not listened to. And my invitation, sometimes there's just a heartfelt outpouring to be listened to for these different voices, these different parts that were created at different times in our life. And when we do this in a group online, in a Zoom group meeting, truly amazing that even in a group meeting where you don't know people, these voices will come up. And what's interesting is other people who have these voices that haven't been heard, those voices will come up and there will just be an outpouring of all these old beliefs and struggles and stresses. And all of a sudden, they have a voice, they've been listened to, they've been told that we understand they have a positive intent. And sometimes these voices will say, oh, I can lay down my burden now. I know we're safe.
In terms of the book as a whole, is there anything that you want people to know? If there was one thing that you'd want people to know about what they can get from reading this book, what might you say?
Yeah, what I want you to know is you're okay. That all of the old voices inside of you, all the old struggles, the beliefs that no longer serve you, that it's not, there's no judgment. It's just a discovery process. And by understanding that all of these parts, these voices, these struggles, these judgments we have for ourselves, that they all have positive intent. And once we understand that positive intent, we can then say, how can we express that better? How can we live in a relationship with ourselves, our families, our communities, and our finances, and bring rapport to all of them in a way that we can just move forward with all the energy that we have?
Mhm. Okay. Well, thank you, Richard.
Well, thank you, Mark. You are very provocative, and I appreciate the time and the great questions. And I look forward to following up and doing it again.
Great.